It's hump day.
Hump day!
It's hump day.
Hump day!
Hey everybody, welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. Today is the 13th of April, and this is Hump Day Hangouts episode 75. So we're now 3/4 of the way to the century mark. So we still don't have Hernan. He's missing in action, but hopefully he'll show up again someday. But we do have Chris, Marco, and Bradley. So we'll go down the line and see what's going on. How's it going, Chris?
Hello, everybody. Doing great here. Good weather here.
Marco, as usual, how's the weather treating you?
Warm and sunny, man. I can't stand it. Can't wait for the rain.
It's coming.
That's tough. Bradley, how about yourself? How you doing?
Really upset that Hernan's not here again, and that you guys are going to have to settle for us.
Yeah, no Hernan, but maybe we can get him if he watches this, which I guarantee you he will be.
Yeah.
Hopefully he can start posting some more pictures. I think we were getting like pictures on Facebook and stuff, and then it's gone quiet. But that might be because of his internet connection. So.
Since Hernan might be watching this later, I just want to give you this.
We miss you, buddy. Oh man.
All right.
Well, let's roll through some announcements real quick, and then I think we're going to dive into it this week. Real quick, if you got our email this morning, we were telling you about the Summit webinar, the free webinar for video marketing tomorrow. Bradley, if you want to talk about that real briefly, and then I'm going to pop the link in here. You guys can sign up, and it's a free kind of expert panel that Bradley's participating in tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. So we have. There's a video marketing summit. What's called the Video Mastery Mini Summit that John S. Rhodes is hosting. He's putting it together for tomorrow. It's at 2 p.m. Eastern, and there's going to be several panelists on there. I'm one of them. Todd Gross, Felicia Slattery, Ben Littlefield, and Ray Lane. Ray, the video guy, he may be on as well. And it's going to be kind of some. I guess it's like speed dating. It's we're each going to be given about 15 minutes to just talk about what each one of us are really good at, and then obviously there's going to be an offer at the end for something really cheap. Most of you guys already have IFTTT SEO Academy, and that's what I'm going to be talking about is how to use it's for video stuff. So how to use IFTTT syndication networks for video SEO. But there again, this is like the offers that are going to be made are incredibly discounted, and so it would be worth anybody that's doing video SEO stuff to come check it out tomorrow and see what's available, because again there's several people going to be talking very briefly about whatever and then making a ridiculously cheap pitch at the end. And so if you guys are interested in that, come check it out tomorrow.
Cool. And I promise you, we did not come up with that URL shortener. I have no idea where that comes from. So we did not do that. That was given to us. So
yeah.
And always, you guys, if you don't have a Serpspace account, please head over, sign up, free account to sign up. And then the way I actually had somebody asking me, hey, how do I get these discounts you guys were talking about with Serpspace? Well, you get them by signing up, and then we send out emails from time to time as deals come up. So if you're signed up to our email list, you're good to go. So head over there. Once you join, you'll be set for the discounts, and then we're going to be rolling out some more stuff in the near future. So hopefully we'll see you over there.
Sweet.
Okay. How about you guys? Anything else, or are we ready to roll?
RYS Academy rules.
Of course it does.
There goes Marco again. All right, cool. I think we're pretty good to go on questions now. No other announcements, right? We're ready?
Yep. Sorry, I just saw the picture you posted.
Yeah, well, I had to post something. All right, I'm going to go ahead and grab the screen, and we're going to get right into it.
All right.
I'll take the entire screen. All right, so hopefully you guys are seeing everything okay, and
yep.
We're going to start right with Mark O'Connell at the bottom. He says, hi guys, quick question for you. If a client has an RSS feed that only posts a small description and that's it, and it wasn't WordPress, would you get them to ask their webmaster to make it full post feed, or have you ever created your own unique RSS feed? There are softwares out there that create RSS feeds. Is it possible to create an RSS feed from another URL and put it on my own domain or subdomain, put a robot.txt file in it, and no-index it as well, and use that for the blog syndication? Thanks. Mark, I have run into that problem, but I've always gone directly to the developer of whoever's managing the site and ask them to change the feed. And in fact, I've met with resistance on that a couple times, where the developers, the web developers have said, like, why would you want to do a full text feed? That can cause duplicate content issues. And I've had to argue with them and say, just do it. You just stick to building websites, and I'll stick to doing SEO, okay? But seriously, I've had that happen on a couple occasions now, and I've just had them change the RSS feed output to where it makes it full text. I don't know about the other option that you mentioned. Is that something that you've done before, either Chris or Marco? Where you've created an RSS feed?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Well, in his question, I would go directly to the webmaster or the developer and say, hey, I need the RSS feed to output full text post instead of just summaries. But he's saying there are softwares out there that also create RSS feeds. Is it possible to create an RSS feed from another URL and put it on my own domain or subdomain to use that for blog syndication? Do you guys have any experience with doing that?
I have never done this. But yes, you can actually create an RSS feed from anything. Anything that has content can become an RSS feed. And so this is absolutely plausible. I don't see why not, especially if you're doing it's a little underhanded. But yeah, absolutely. It looks good. Might try it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that I always tell people is, look, test it. The only thing that you can do is test and see what works and what doesn't, and how Google reacts to it.
Yeah. Well, I've done it in the past with like feed blending and like own custom-made WordPress plugins that had pretty much a spider behind it and just searched for a specific kind of content. But yeah, I haven't done that for like a year or so no idea if you get a penalty or not right now.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've always just gone to the developer and said, look, this is what we need, make it happen. And then sometimes I've had to argue with them to convince them why they should do it. But that's how I've always done it. I haven't tested the other method, Mark. But yeah, I mean, just test it. If you have a way to do it on your own that doesn't require a lot of manual work, the thing that I would foresee as a potential problem would be if you had to go up and update the RSS feed manually, which would suck. You know what I'm saying? Like if you had to insert new items manually into the feed output of, like if you were using some sort of third-party RSS feed generator. But if you get the developers to just create they could even create a second version of the feed. Like if their main feed outputs a summary, you could have a second feed created that just uses a different slug, right? That would output the full text post feed, or the full text post, which then you could use for syndication. But that's typically how I do it because it requires the least. Remember, the more third-party stuff you start using, the greater the chance of something breaking down. So, in my opinion, it's better to go straight to the source and get the actual feed updated on the blog itself. Okay. All right. Next one. Sky says, I used to think when the cache date changed on a SERP, search engine results page, the search engine had crawled, evaluated, and assigned a rank score. I recently noticed a description tag was not updated in the SERPs even after a new cached version was displayed in the SERPs. The new cached version displays new updates made to the web page. The description was my old version and wasn't rewritten by the search engine. Can you please cover the bot process, indexing, timing, and ranking evaluation? Thanks. Well, first of all, Sky, I wish I could. If I knew that much, if I knew exactly how the bot process, index, timing, and rank evaluation worked within Google, I wouldn't be sitting here teaching you guys how to do any SEO stuff because I'd be counting my money and running my empire. Honestly, I can't answer that. I don't work for Google. I can tell you that I have also experienced the same thing where, and I'm not sure what causes it, but sometimes the title tags or the meta descriptions don't get updated like they're supposed to. And sometimes it's weird. I've seen Google like reorder title tags from my sites, and I have no rhyme or reason as to why they've done it. I've gone back and checked the SEO titles. I've checked the meta descriptions, and seen that they, for whatever reason, Google decides to display it however the hell they want sometimes. And in my opinion, it's a fluke. There might be something behind it, but I don't know what it is. So I just usually just ignore it, and it ends up fixing itself at some point. But I know that when they come when they refresh the database, right? So whenever they refresh the results, it's supposed to update, but I think it's different data centers that do perform different functions. So just because the cache has been updated doesn't mean that the search results, what's displayed in the search results, is going to be updated, because that could be another data center refresh entirely. Does that make sense? So they're not always synced up. In fact, they're usually not synced up, is my point. You want to say anything about that, Marco? I think you had something about it too, didn't you?
No. I'm totally with you. There's absolutely no way for us to know timing. If we could pinpoint timing, and then the rank evaluation that's conducted during the bot process, I would be right there with you, sitting on the beach drinking a Mai Tai or whatever, and talking about how we have just stuff killing it all over the web, because we'd be able to take over just about any niche. Just you name it, we would take over, because we know exactly how the process works. Most of what we do is a good guesstimate. We spend tons of time looking at patents and the way that Google does things, and through tests we can infer certain things, but there's no way to know. There's just no way.
Yeah, but I mean, as I said, Sky, I've noticed that there's, like, the cache, the refresh rate is different depending on what it is that they're refreshing. So you see stuff that just is out of sync all the time. Like, I see it fairly regularly, and I just chalk it up to being just part of the process, and so I just ignore it. And most of the time the stuff will fix itself anyways. Like, it'll refresh at some point. So Randy M says, what's the best technique for ranking specific Amazon product pages in Google for your clients for specific keywords? All right. I don't do any Amazon stuff, but I can give you my best guess, but I haven't verified it because I don't do any Amazon stuff. But I would assume that if you have Amazon product pages, because it's an Amazon page, essentially on the Amazon.com domain, it can withstand probably an enormous amount of abuse. So my assumption would be that if you were to just build a shit ton of backlinks to it, preferably high quality links if possible, but you could probably even get away with quite a bit of spam too, because it's an Amazon page. Now, again, I cannot say for sure, Randy, because I don't do any Amazon stuff, but I know that the Amazon domain itself is, what is it, a perfect domain authority of 100. It's Amazon, for God's sake. So it should be able to withstand a lot of abuse, and that's what my assumption would be, is that you optimize the page as much as you can, which I don't know, because I've never set up an Amazon listing. I don't know how much you can optimize the page itself, but then also probably just build literally a boatload of backlinks to it, and that would be my opinion. Marco, and I don't know, Adam, do you have any e-com experience with this Amazon stuff?
No, I haven't tried Amazon, man.
Yeah, not with the product pages. So yeah, I don't want to say something that like you said, haven't tested. So not for product pages.
And your other question I have, like, he tries to rank it in Google or in Amazon?
Well, he says Google.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. As far as for Google, I mean, I can't speak to the Amazon algorithm, but for Google, I would imagine you should probably be able to rank it with just, optimizing the page as much as possible, like I said. But again, I don't really know what the extent of the optimization of the actual listing page is. But then I would just build a bunch of backlinks to the page, because it's an Amazon domain, so you should be able to get away with pretty much murder for that. Okay, Greg says, hi Bradley, I have a tough SEO question. My website used to have good page 1 positions. Last year Google gave it a thin content, no value manual penalty. Wow, okay. Google has rejected 4 reconsideration requests over the past 6 months. Last week I got a second spam thin content penalty. It's time to change domains, Greg. That's all there is to it. 6 months ago, it did only have 5 pages. Since then, I've added 15 pages, a 1,000-word About Us page with original images, 3 original videos, where I interviewed 3 different CEOs, etc. Pages are 800 to 2,500 words. It has no affiliate links. All is original content. Yeah, it's just your domain is it's like the bastard child. Google, for whatever reason, does not like your domain. So I would just switch domains. One SEO's advice was not to fight Google, start a new site, and redirect this site to a new domain. What direction would you suggest? Yeah, that's what I just said. I would absolutely just clone the site, slap it up onto another domain, and then I would go ahead and redirect. As long as you know you don't have a backlink penalty, then I would redirect the old pages to the new ones. But if you have, but just make sure that you don't, your backlink profile is clean. Because if it's not, then I wouldn't, I would probably set up some sort of like double 301 or something like that to where you're not, which we can't really get into on Hump Day Hangouts. But I would just make sure your backlink profile is fairly decent before doing a 301 redirect from page by page. And that's just because if you've got some, like, for example, if you had one page that had a particularly spammy backlink profile built to that specific page, then I wouldn't 301 redirect that directly to the new page, if that makes sense. I would end up maybe redirecting it to a buffer site first that had a link to my page, so that at least the buffer site would be getting the bulk of the bad, the potentially negative SEO juice. I don't know if that makes sense, but let's see. Would you 301 site over a page to the new domain? Yes, if the backlink profile was decent. Only to redirect the most important pages. Well, yeah. I mean, for example, if you were to take a look at all the different pages, like the backlinks on a page-by-page basis, if you've got pages that don't have any backlinks or have very few or insignificant backlinks, there's really no need to 301 redirect that at all, because there's no need to push the juice over, because it's such an insignificant amount of juice, it's not necessary. So yeah, you can just redirect the most important pages. Again, just pay attention to the backlink profile, make sure it's clean. Double redirect, I heard of this, don't even know what it is. Well, you could come talk to us in the mastermind. We'd be happy to talk to you a little bit more about that. Is there a way to completely delete the current site and start a new site with the same existing content on the new site? Yeah, you would just clone the site, put it on a new domain, start a new site using the same existing content on the new site. Yeah, so you just clone the domain, clone the site, install it on a new domain. I mean, then you're essentially deleting the old domain, right? Will the negative black market has carry over and contaminate the new site? It shouldn't. It shouldn't. It should be a domain-specific penalty. If I redirected it to another site as a subdomain, will it contaminate the other subdomains in the root domain? Look, if you're worried about the old domain, if you redirect the old domain to the new domain, there's a chance that you could pass the penalty to the new domain. It won't be instant. It'll take some time for it to catch up. That's why I recommend, if you're going to do it, that if you're going to redirect, you do it on a page-by-page basis instead of on a domain-wide level, okay? And that you would only select your most important pages, provided that they have a clean backlink profile. Anything that you think is questionable whatsoever, don't do a 301 redirect to the new site. Put a buffer site in between. I don't care if you use WordPress.com, Blogger, Tumblr, whatever. Put some sort of buffer site in the middle and redirect to the buffer site, and then have the buffer site pages pointing to the pages on the new site, the new domain. So that way you're cleaning that juice through that buffer site. Okay? So the penalty wouldn't pass to the new domain if you don't have a direct 301 redirect to the new domain, right? If you had a two-step where it's redirecting to a buffer site first, and then the buffer site is just pushing juice to the new site, the penalty is not going to pass to the new site. At best, or at worst, it would actually just penalize the buffer site, which is why you use like a high domain authority or Web 2.0 type site. Okay? Okay. And no, if you redirect to a subdomain, and this is a bit, like, honestly, this will confuse more people answering this question. So if you're in the master class, we could talk about that in the master class, but that last part, trust me, that's going to end up having a lot of people scratching their heads. So Jeff says, question 1, I'm resurrecting expired domains on Amazon S3. Is it advisable to use a sitemap? And if so, can I just generate a sitemap.xml file as usual and submit it to Search Console? I tried this with my first site, but Google kept rejecting the sitemap. What am I missing? I don't worry about sitemaps for HTML sites, Jeff. If you want to go through the trouble, then certainly I'm sure it could help a little bit, but honestly, I don't go through the trouble. It's too much extra work for such a insignificant amount of benefit, right? There's a diminishing returns, guys, right? You know, spending your time creating sitemap XML files and trying to work that out, you know, if there's an easy way to do it, sure, use it. Why not? But if you're having trouble with it, just move on. To be honest with you, if you're resurrecting the old sites, you should be able to, once the site has been rebuilt, you should be able to just scrape the URLs from the pages that are available, and then and you could even use like a crawler, a domain crawler, to do that very, very quickly, and scrape all the pages, the URLs, and just ping them or submit them to an indexer. And that's all you need to do. Okay. Do I remember you saying these sites had dynamic IPs? Yes, Jeff. Amazon S3, if you're hosting HTML sites using Amazon buckets, the IPs will change. Okay, they're dynamic IPs. And it's interesting because you can like go do like a an IP check on one of your bucket URLs, and then check it 20 minutes later, and the IPs will have changed. Like it's interesting how often they change. I don't know like if it's a set schedule or what, but they change often. Michael says, hi guys, your simple silo video is very helpful for the navigation menus. Should we use the page as the nav menu, button link, or the category? Both have the same name. Michael, you would use the page. And the reason why is because a category page is nothing other than an index page. It's just like a blog index page, right? If you click on a category page, all it's going to do is show the posts that are within that category, right? And depending on your theme, it's either going to show a snippet with like a read more button, or it's going to show the full text post. But either way, it's just an index page. So when you're setting up the silo, and if you watch the simple silo videos the silo structure videos, you'll see that I talked about as far as I'm concerned, a category page is pretty much useless for most type of websites. Okay, if it's specifically just a blog, then it makes sense to have a category page. But if it's a normal type of website, like a local client website, or some sort of website for a business, blah blah blah, a category page is typically useless. So what you do is you redirect the category page to the top level page. They share the same slug, right? The only difference is they're separated by the category in the URL. Does that make sense? So let me just blow this up for a minute so you guys can see what I'm talking about. You guys are seeing my full screen, correct? Hello?
Yes, we are. Yep.
So let's say we're going to say red widgets. Okay, so let's say this is your top level page, but it's also your category, right? You've got a category called red widgets, but then you've got your top level page, which is essentially what you want to be the top of the silo, is also named red widgets. They share the same slug, right? You can do that with categories and pages. Then the category page would look exactly the same, except it would have the category URL. This is the only difference between the two, right? But in my opinion, this particular page itself is nothing but an index page that will display all the posts within the red widgets category, and so in my opinion, it's basically useless. So what I do is 301 redirect this URL to this URL, so that if anybody were to ever try to click on that red widgets category, it's going to take them to the red widgets page anyways. Does that make sense? It basically eliminates the category pages. So hopefully that was clear. On a subdomain website, for the links linking the home page of the subdomain down to the top level pages and back up. Let's see, try this again. On the subdomain website, for the links linking the home page of the subdomain down to the top level pages and back up to home page, what type of anchor text do you use? Do you use the most important keywords? Not sure what you mean, why that makes the subdomain makes any difference here on this, Michael. Honestly, I'm not really I don't really follow the question there.
Yeah, to me it reads like it's just, you could take the subdomain out of that question and it should be the same as how we're reading it, Michael, I think. So.
Okay. So my opinion was, like, if you have, let's say, red widgets is your top level, and then you're going to have, let's say, big red widgets, small red widgets, and let's do another one. Let's do red widgets with polka dots, right? Let's say that these are your top level category, your top level term, the top of your silo is going to be red widgets, okay? then you can link, and then these are all supporting articles or supporting pages, or they could even be posts, depending on whether you're using simple silo structure or complex silo structure, right? So at any point, when you're linking from here, the best way to do it is just to make sure that from your web widgets page that you have a link down to each supporting article within the content. Preferably contextual links, but you can even have like a little bullet list and say, for more information about all the widgets, about other red widget types or whatever, click here or whatever, and it have like a little bullet list. It doesn't matter. My point is on this top level page, you want to link down to your supporting articles. You can use the exact match keyword if you'd like. It doesn't really matter. It's an internal link. So, you can get away with using exact match anchors as internal links. It's not going to be a problem. Then from each one of your supporting articles, you want to link back up to your top level page, right? And you could use exact match keywords. You could use the brand name. You could use whatever it is that you want to link back up there. It could just be a generic, like to find out about all the red widgets we provide, click here, and it could be the here. It could be that whole entire sentence. You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter. It's an internal link. Okay, but what you want to do is you just want to make sure that you're linking from your top level page down to each supporting page, and then each supporting page links back up to the top level page. Then if it makes sense to, if in the big red widgets content you mention something about red widgets with polka dots, then you could do what I call a lateral link or a horizontal link from big red widgets over to red widgets with polka dots, because it's all in the same silo. What you don't want to do is link from any one of the supporting articles or the top level article over to the blue widgets silo. Does that make sense? If you do link over to that, which for the users, for visitors of your website, it might make sense to link from within the red widgets silo over to the blue widgets silo for navigation purposes. But if you do so, it's okay. Just make sure you follow that link so that you don't bleed this theme. Does that make sense? Hopefully that was clear. On the internal links anchor text count towards the entire site overall external anchor text ratio? No, Michael. As far as I know, it doesn't, and it's an internal link, so Google treats those differently. Like I've never seen a site penalized from over-optimized internal anchor text links. You know what I mean? So yeah, they're seen differently. As far as I know, they're seen differently because I've actually tried to do that in the past where I was testing. It's been about 1.5 years now, but I was testing. I built a whole bunch of pages and used the exact match keyword to link to the top level silo page from every other page, and I didn't build any external backlinks, and the site still ended up ranking fairly well, even with no external backlinks. So what I'm saying is it didn't cause any negative problem. Guys, by the way, good on page for a lot of especially local stuff, guys. Good on page is if you have really strong on page, you can rank with next to 0 backlinks if your site structure's set up properly. Earl says, have over a dozen new sites on CloudBoss via Bluechip Backlinks for various projects. Now could use a quick 101 on indexing. Well, the best way to index, the most effective way is to submit manually to Google. Obviously it's not something you want to do if you got a bunch of them. But if you've, the best way is just go submit directly to Google. Go to Google and type submit URL, right? Just type in submit URL, and it's going to be this one, right? Yeah. I believe it or not, they actually ranked Bing above Google's own search results. That's funny. You guys see that? Google actually ranked Bing above them. That's interesting. But you can do the same thing for Bing and Yahoo too, by the way. So why not? So that's the quickest way to do it. You have to be logged into your Search Console account or a Google account in order to do it. But that's the quickest or most effective way. If you're going to be doing, if you want to automate it, then I would recommend probably Backlinks Indexer. That's probably the only one that I would submit money sites to directly. A lot of the other indexing services I would submit backlinks to, but not money site URLs. If that makes sense. Okay. Something else you could do is if you have a good Twitter account with a lot of that's active, it's got a lot of followers, that kind of thing. Especially if it's themed, if it's relevant, then you could tweet those URLs out, and it's incredible how quickly something will get indexed when you tweet it. So that's another method. Chris says, question for a local blog network, is it helpful to include some local news sites and blogs spliced into our RSS feeds, even if the local sites are lower DA? Yeah, I could care less about domain authority, but yeah, you can you can do that. You can, I mean, absolutely. Like, for example, a lot of the you know, my curators that curate for my local clients, there's obviously, like, for example, plumbers don't, there's not a whole lot of like stuff to blog about for plumbers. You know what I mean? Like, you reach a level, like a point where it's like, okay, what the hell else can we write about? So what I've trained my curators to do is to always be, to have, to subscribe to the RSS feeds using something like Feedly or whatever, a feed reader, to a lot of the local, like, newspaper sites, you know, and you know, any local blogs, any local directory sites that have a blog, you know, anything like that, so that they can constantly be scanning for local news stories that they can curate to tie back into the local plumber that's in that area, if that makes sense. So it's like there's no shortage of content when you start tying in local content, right? Because it doesn't have to be niche specific if it's geographically specific. Right? I mean, that's my point. Like, you can do either or both if you can. If you can get, you know, local news stuff about plumbing and you're tying it in back into a plumber site, that's ideal. But, you know, how often does that happen? So you could tie local site stories back into the blog, or you can tie plumbing stories back into the blog. But that's a pretty good method to do. So yeah, you can do that. For national brand site, can the network properties be branded with only the subdomain part of the URL? In this case, the root is a generic category, and the subdomains are very distinct from each other. They could easily stand on their own. I'm not 100% sure what you're saying, Chris, but if you are creating essentially subdomains that are like sub-niches of a particular niche, so if your root domain is covering kind of like a broad niche, for example, and you have subdomain sites that are covering sub-niches that are more specific to that particular sub-niche, then yeah, absolutely, you could have separate networks for each one of those, right? Because they'd be themed, they'd be a little bit more narrowly themed. Each network would be a little bit more narrowly themed. They'd all fit into the broader category, but they'd be like narrow themed, you know, very specific type of networks for each subdomain. And yeah, you can do that. I don't know if that's answering your question or not, but anybody else interpret that differently than I just did?
Not I.
Okay. Well, then we're going to move on. Jeff says 2 questions. Looks like 3.
He said to refresh because he edited it.
Oh, okay. All right, let me refresh then. All right, why do we eliminate the trailing slash from interlinked property URLs? Jeff, it doesn't matter, for God's sakes. It doesn't matter. If you want to leave the trailing slash on, do it. I just take it off because it looks prettier without it. To be honest with you, it's not an SEO hack. It's just because it looks prettier that way. Like, for example, when you add your URL to a Google Plus page, my business page, or a you know, either a local page or a brand page, if you leave the trailing slash on, the trailing slash displays on the page at the top where the profile image is, right underneath the trailing slash displays. It doesn't change anything. It just looks crappy in my opinion. So I just take it off. Regarding separate networks for blog, branded and YouTube channel persona. I appreciate BB going to great lengths in IFTTT V2 to clarify best practices about this. Is it assumed that the branded YouTube channel associated with the blog will serve as the source for the videos to be embedded into posts in the blog and be syndicated to the persona networks? No, I can use any YouTube channel I want, but it just seems to make more sense that the branded YouTube channel associated with the blog would be where the videos would. It doesn't matter, honestly. You know, it doesn't matter, Jeff. If you wanted, I see what you're saying about. You say I asked because I was all geared up to use an age YouTube channel I bought to post the videos for more authority, but that leaves the blog with an associated branded YouTube channel where basically nothing would be happening. My question is, why can't you take the authority YouTube channel, the aged YouTube channel, and brand it to your blog brand? What's stopping you from doing that? Does that make sense? So if you created a brand new channel when you set up a network that you branded to your blog, what is stopping you from just taking your aged YouTube channel and rebranding it and just not using the other channel that you set up? Right? I mean, that's my point. Is like I don't. If you have an aged YouTube channel, you can rebrand it. If it already has a custom URL, so what? You know, I mean, it would be nice if you could. I don't know that it does or not, Jeff. I'm just assuming that you know, an aged channel might have a custom URL already, but you can still rebrand it and still put your own images on it and, you know, theme it to whatever theme you want, right? So you put your own you know, channel art on it, and you optimize it for. That's what I would do. I mean, if you have an aged YouTube channel, that's what you should do. Okay. I think I remember you asking something about the other YouTube channels that we create. Guys, remember, we create YouTube channels for every network, even if they're persona-based. Whether they're branded or not, it doesn't matter. The reason we do that is because on the YouTube About page, for the, you know, the About page for the channel, is another place that you can enter. You can link up all of your profiles and everything. It's a Google property too. That's why we do it. Even if we're never planning on using the YouTube channel that we're creating for that network, because we already had a YouTube channel that we were going to use to syndicate to that network, it doesn't matter. We create it anyways because it's just another place to tie all of your properties together. It's another target URL for backlinking purposes. It just strengthens the network. Okay. So I don't know if that answers your question, Jeff. I hope it does. But you can just rebrand the aged channel, and the one that you already created for your associated website. I mean, like for example, you can take the aged YouTube channel and associate that with your website, even if your other channel was already associated with it. It doesn't matter. If you know what I'm talking about, when you go into your channel settings in advanced, and you can create the associated websites, you can do like external annotation links and all that kind of stuff. You can associate one website with more than one YouTube channel. Okay? Ryan says, hey guys, if a client has a website but no blog, especially local business, what's the best way to generate content on autopilot? Create a subdomain and syndicate authorities with attribution? Something else? Thanks. Ryan, yeah, if you've got a client website with no blog, like what I typically do with that situation is I tell the client that we're going to install WordPress on a subdomain that we're going to use as the blog. So it'll be like blog.clientdomain.com or news.clientdomain.com or something like that, and then we that way I get access to the subdomain blog, or my team does, so that we can produce content and use that as our content distribution engine. Okay? That's what I like to do. Malcolm says, interested to hear more about the various different IFTTT packages you sell on Serpspace. We can go take a look real quick, just because this might be helpful to others. All right, let's go to the marketplace and IFTTT networks. Okay, so the single tier IFTTT network, guys, this is just one ring. So if you purchase just one ring, right, it's a tier 1 ring. It can be branded or it can be persona based. It's up to you. It's entirely up to you. We have the single tier 2 network, which I'm not even sure why we have that here, to be honest with you, because it's pretty much the same thing as a single tier network. It's just it would be a tier 2 network, which means it would be triggered by either the Blogger, WordPress, or Tumblr RSS feed. That's it. So I'm not really sure why that's there. But the 3 tier 2 networks, that's if you already have a tier 1 branded network or whatever. You have a tier 1 network already and you want to go back and add the tier 2 networks, then that's what this is for. So you're buying 3 rings here instead of buying a full 2-tier network, which is 4 rings. You're just buying these 3 outer rings, right? All right, and then lastly, there's the full 2-tier network, which is where you get the tier 1 ring plus the 3 tier 2 rings built and all done for you. Typically, this is what people will order if they want a branded tier 1 ring, and they'll send us their, you know, the information that they want us to use when building that branded network, and then these will be the 3 supporting rings. Guys, I highly recommend, and I've said this, I'm going to repeat this every week, I swear, but I recommend that if you're doing blog syndication, you stick with a tier 1 branded network only. If you're doing YouTube syndication, I recommend always going with the full 2-tier network, because there's like, why not? You know, you'll get a hell of a lot more power out of it that way, and in fact, you can stack as many full 2-tier networks on a YouTube channel as you'd like, and you just get more and more power. Okay? All right, keep moving. Let's see, I created 4 spliced RSS feeds using chimpfeedr and feed.informer, but I only included one of my own feeds in each spliced feed. I see that I will end up with too many feeds. Can I simply not use those spliced feeds I have already created and go back and start over and create new ones, putting 2 or 3 of my feeds into each mixed feed? I'm new to this and not sure if creating those has already submitted those feeds anywhere. No, Eddie, if you haven't submitted them anywhere, then don't worry about it. Just go back and create new feeds to your liking. That's all. It's not going to hurt anything. If you created those feeds and haven't submitted them anywhere, it doesn't matter. Even if you did submit them somewhere, you could always go back and create new feeds and resubmit. Okay? So that's not an issue at all. And you must be talking about for the advanced RSS stuff, because that's the only place where we splice feeds is for the advanced RSS.
Yeah, that's a good lesson to check out too. And I know you talk about that, Bradley, in the training, like looking at the frequency of publishing, you know, so you don't end up with something where you're just swamped with other posts.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's in the advanced RSS training inside the IFTTT Academy, and that's what he's referring to here, guys, because otherwise you don't need to splice feeds. Let's see. Jenny says, "Good afternoon, guys. Just wondering, is it best to build what is the best way to build a proper silo structure for advanced link building?" Actually, we kind of covered that. We're running out of time, so I would like to draw out a thing, but we really don't have time for that, unfortunately. What I talked about here is the best way to do it. Like, you know, for the thing about this, guys, if you remember what I said, if this is your top level page, and these are supporting pages, or they could be posts, depending on what type of silo structure you use. If you're linking from here to each one of these, so you have a contextual link, preferably within this page, for each one of these that links to each one of these, and then from each one of these you link back up to the top level page. And you can laterally, you know, you can link laterally or horizontally to the other articles within that same silo if you'd like. It's not necessary. If one of the other pages comes up naturally in the conversation, so to speak, of the page, then you can link over to it, but you don't need to force it. It's unnecessary. Okay, but for
yes,
go ahead.
Sorry about that for a second. We actually have 2 YouTube videos in our Semantic Mastery channel, in youtube.com/Semantic Mastery, and they deal with simple silo structure and complex silo structure. You cover it really well on how to go about it, and then once you've set that up, it's just purchasing a link building package from us, and we'll hammer it to death.
Well, and that's the point, is that with once you have a proper silo structure in place, then when you're building links to any one of these pages, all that link equity, the inbound link equity or link juice, is going to flow up through the silo to the top level page. And what's it do when it hits the top level page? It flows back down to each of the supporting pages, in which case they're linking back up to the top level page. So it creates like recycled link equity, right? It's like it basically traps the link juice into a loop where it recycles it, right? And that's what makes the silo structure so powerful. There's I think there's a term called buoyancy, right? So they call that buoyancy, right? So if you're building links to any one of these pages here, or even to the top level page, that's going to cycle through. It's going to go through that entire silo, and it's just going to keep circling back through and back through, if that makes sense. And that's kind of what powers it up. It makes the whole entire silo stronger. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. We're running out of time really quickly, guys. We've got to wrap it up in about 7 minutes. Richard says, "I just recently got my hands on you guys' IFTTT V2. Only 2 words to describe it: badass." I'm gonna plus on that.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you, Richard. Do you have anything
from me too?
Yeah. Do you have anything similar to Matthew Woodward PBN certificate course? No, we don't have any like certification courses where we give you certification. We could make something up though. You know, we could put a
well, it's in the works.
Put a gold star on a piece of parchment and mail it.
Bradley's pretty handy with that Snagit image editor. So, no.
Yeah, but no, I mean, we have the mastermind, and if somebody needs like if somebody wants to hang a certificate on the wall, just reach out to us. We'll come up with something. Do you have anything similar to offer like Jacob King? I'm not sure what Jacob King has to offer, to be honest, Richard. Sorry. If you don't have any of the previous resources to offer, do you recommend me going to them and purchasing from them in order to learn and further my knowledge, or do you think it is a waste of time? Well, I can't speak on what it is that they do. I know that the traditional PBN courses, and I don't know what Matthew Woodward's looks like. I have no idea. So I'm not saying anything bad about his, but I know that a lot of the traditional PBN trainings out there are outdated, in my opinion. They are, although PBNs are still effective, their days are numbered in the way that we have been taught to use them. They can still be used effectively if you do it properly, which requires embracing the Web 3.0 or the semantic web, which is something that we try to teach inside of the Semantic Mastery. So I can't speak for those other two courses because I don't know what the content is about them. When will you guys teach us how to use GSA, XRoomer, FCS Networker, and Scrapebox, if ever? That's a great question. We get that question a lot. It's certainly not something I'm going to do because I hired that work out so that I didn't have to learn how to do it, but we have some people that could probably contribute to that. I don't know that we will ever get to that, though. If there's enough demand, we will.
Yeah, maybe we'll do this. Hernan's going to be listening to this. Maybe we'll put up a page, and because we got the people to do it, myself included, so maybe we'll put something up and say, hey, here's what we think, here's how it's going to look like, here's what we're going to cover, price is going to be X, Y, or Z, and if we get 100 people on board, we'll do it. Yeah. But if not, maybe we'll approach it that way. Because we, from time to time, we get people asking, just like who is this? Richard is. So maybe it's time we cover some of this stuff.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Bradley. If what he's looking for is to further his knowledge, then what I would say is come join the mastermind. Yeah. Because you have people in there, not just guys who are do-it-yourself guys. The one-man band. We have people in there who run agencies. We have people in there who are top-notch SEOs. I mean, just people who are fabulous with video, with websites, with programming. So you have this like-minded community of people who are all pushing to build their business, to expand, right? Always looking for more information. And we have a community that shares, man. They're always sharing and talking. So I would just suggest, hey, come on over to check out the mastermind, man.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's where you should be, Richard. We do a ton of stuff in there, like it's always evolving. So, okay, Rick says, I tell you what, we're going to wrap up. I'm going to try to get it through these next 4 very, very quickly so that Adam doesn't get mad at me. But we're going to wrap up as soon as we get done with these, if I can get to them quick enough. Rick Duck says, is it safe to syndicate related content from authority sites to my Tier 1 blog accounts and place the NAP and a link back to my site within the IFTTT recipe? This is in addition to the content that I publish on the Money site and syndicates to Tier 1 blog properties. So essentially every syndicated article on my Tier 1s include NAP and a link back to my site from other related sites as well as my own. I wouldn't do that, Rick. And the reason why is, why would you want to be publishing other people's content on your Tier 1 branded properties, which is an extension of your brand? In my opinion, that's your golden frame. Like, you should keep all content on those specifically generated from your blog. If you want to use related content from authority sites, that's absolutely fine, but what I recommend that you do is you curate the content from those authority sites into blog posts that originate from your blog, that will then distribute them out to your networks. So therefore, all the content on your Tier 1 network is 100% originated from your blog, even if you're curating authority content from other sources. That's what I would do. Okay? Personally, I do not like to clutter up my branded properties with any sort of third-party content unless it's curated content, which means it originated from my blog, so that if anybody clicks on the posts from any one of the Tier 1 properties, it's going to bring them back to my site instead of somebody else's site, if that makes sense. Okay. Daryl says, in the Curation Mastery course, it talks about the fact that WordPress automatically truncates the post and prevents a keyword from potentially getting syndicated to the point of causing a penalty. What I don't understand is when these posts syndicate out to the Tier 1 IFTTT branded network, they show the full post, thus your anchor text appears anyways. What am I missing here? Because of my WordPress feed is truncated, but the full post with anchor text shows in the IFTTT networks. Thanks. You're not missing anything, Daryl. If you're syndicating your content and it's still showing the full text to your blogs, that's great. Just be aware of that. Look, guys, if you're just using a Tier 1 branded network for your blog syndication, then you're only got 3 full text posts that can be republished, right? Blogger, Tumblr, WordPress, and now you can use Weebly and Weebly as a second tier post. It's not. It can't be triggered from RSS feed. It has to be triggered from one of your blog properties. And Medium, you could use Medium too. So at the very, very most, you're going to have 3 to 5 links sharing that same anchor text. So just keep that in mind when you're creating links within the content. Just keep that in mind. As long as you know that. Now, if you start using multiple, tiered networks and all that stuff, now you've got some more things to be concerned about. But that's why I recommend over and over and over again, and I'm going to do it again right now, to just use a Tier 1 branded network for blog syndication, because that eliminates so many of the potential problems that come from trying to use tiered networks. All right? Come on, get off there. Let's go back. We got 2 more. Daryl says, dumb question, but one I think would be a damn good point and help with all WordPress sites. On tag pages and category pages, is there a way to optimize those with keyword-rich text? Would also stop dupe content issues. I mean, just like a post, not like the standard put text in, but with H1 headers and images, this would or could potentially give a WordPress theme some huge untapped SEO juice. Sherry, what I recommend that you do is just no index those pages. And you can set that up typically within your whatever your SEO plugin is. You can set that up. Like you can set up templates like templates for the category pages and whatever in the tag pages if you want. Usually the SEO plugins will provide you that option to you can optimize like the titles and things like that. But to be honest with you, I would just no index them unless you know what you're doing with tag pages, which we talk about in the mastermind, and how to use tag pages with canonicals to do some pretty ninja SEO stuff, but it's not something that typically I would recommend people doing unless they're a little bit more advanced with SEO. So just no index them. You could leave them to follow, but no index. Right? That's all I would do. Ryan, last question, guys. I had been using burner app numbers in the past. I noticed that Yahoo Mail doesn't take it and it recognizes it as an invalid number. Been wondering if Google secretly is able to detect burners, which could potentially flag your account as suspect. Ryan, I use burner to verify accounts all the time, and I've never had an issue. Maybe there's some, team in Google that is watching to see if burner app numbers are used, and at some point they're going to come whack your sites, but I really don't worry about that. As long as it works, I haven't had any problems with it. Guys, if you need phone verified accounts and you can't do it on your own, just buy them. There are people out there that sell phone verified accounts. Just go buy them, because it's a pain in the ass doing it yourself anyways. Still need to do some testing, but I'm wondering if anyone foresees any issues with this so far. I haven't had any problems, Ryan, and I've been using burner app for over a year to verify accounts. Most of my VAs do this stuff for me now, but when I do use it, it hasn't caused me any problems. Okay, that was it. No masterclass today, guys. That's next week. So I guess we'll see everybody next week. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Have a good one.
Cheers.